Welcome to Nebula from Wonderbow Games, where each player at the table is going to be claiming stars from our star cluster board in the center of the table to place into their own personal galaxies. Each player is going to get a galaxy board in the color of their choice, and those boards are all the same. Within that galaxy, you're going to see a central place, which is where you have to place the first star you play during the game. After that first star, every star we play has to be linked to a star that's already somewhere on our board. And there are three types of links on your board. The first is a direct link, which is a solid line in your color. You can see here there are direct links to each of these four other star spaces from the center. There are also indirect links, and these are these broken dashed lines that are also still in my color. And there are also orbital links, which are these white lines, creating these 5 different circular orbits around my board. In fact, each orbit has a number. You can see here that these are orbits numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, determined by how far from the center they are. So as I was saying, the two rules you need to know about placing a new star is that a new star has to be connected to a star that's already somewhere on your board, and you can never have two linked stars by any type of link that are the same color as each other. So I could not follow up with a yellow star here, because that would be two linked yellow stars that match each other. That can't happen. Each of the star spaces on your board is also part of a constellation. There are 4 different constellations, each is represented by a different shape that's printed on the star spaces. And last, you have a black hole row along the top of your board that can score you points for playing black hole stars into this area. At the start of the game, we'll have drawn 4 shared objectives at random that we're all going to be working out throughout the game. So for example, one of our shared objectives this time is to have at least 2 orange stars in each of 3 different constellations, so that's a total of 6 stars spread 2 each into 3 constellations. Or to have 6 different colors in orbit 2. There are only 6 different color stars in the game, so you need to collect all 6 into orbit 2. Each of us also gets a personal objective, which is private from the rest of the players. Ours this time happens to be to try to get at least 6 yellow stars onto our galaxy. And lastly, we have the star cluster board. When the game begins, we'll have stars on each of these star spaces that will be available to us to claim out of the center. Each player's turn has 2 main parts. The first is to collect stars. Now there's 2 ways you can collect stars, and the main way you'll be doing it for most of the game, at least in our experience, is to be manipulating time out here on the star cluster board. If you choose to manipulate time, you're going to use these little hourglass tokens and move them a total of 5 spaces between all 3 of them around these star clusters, and then claim the stars that they end up at. We've also drawn a random colored guiding star into the center of the star cluster board. The guiding star matters once you're playing stars onto your board, but you may want to collect the guiding star whenever you have the opportunity to. So as an example of manipulating time, I could move this token 1 spot counterclockwise, and you can move each token either counterclockwise or clockwise, but once you start moving it in a direction, you cannot move back the other direction. So that's one of my 5 moves, and I have to make all 5. So the next thing I want to do is to move this token 1, 2, 3, 4 spots clockwise. That's all 5 of my moves. And now I'm going to look at where those tokens are sitting on their star clusters and collect the star from each of those 3 that they are in front of. Even though this third token didn't move, I still get to collect the one that's in front of it if there is one there. After you've taken those tokens, we're going to move these crescent moons to follow to the spaces you took tokens off of this turn, so that the next player will be able to easily track those hourglass tokens' starting positions on their turn. Now say I was the next player and I didn't like any of my options out here on the star cluster board, you can collect stars in one different way, and that is by resorting to chaos. When you resort to chaos, you're going to choose one of the stars that's already in your supply and discard it from the game entirely. This gives you an opportunity to draw 5 stars out of the bag, and you're going to choose 2 of those stars that you're going to keep, and the rest of those also get discarded from the game entirely. So obviously manipulating time gives you the opportunity to grab more stars, but sometimes resorting to chaos is the only way to find the color you're really looking for, and it gives you a little bit of control of what's in that star bag. Alright, we grabbed an orange, yellow, and black. This is going to be great for us, because the second main part of your turn is to play star tokens out onto your galaxy. You can play up to 2 stars on your turn. You may not play 2 matching stars on the same turn, so I couldn't play 2 yellows if I had them. And if one of the stars you play matches the color of the guiding star, which ours does, that guiding star is orange, then you can play a third. So I plan to play all 3 of these this turn. Let's start in that central space with our orange, just to make sure we've turned on our guiding star bonus. I'm going to follow that up with a yellow that has to be linked to that orange. And that leaves us with a black star token, which is a special token called a black hole. Black holes never go out onto your galaxy. Instead, when you play a black hole, you will play it into your black hole row at the top of your board. Now at the end of the game, you'll score points for the leftmost number showing on this row, so the more that we can cover up, the more points we're going to score. But also, every time you play a black star, we're going to move the black star token one to the right. Each time this token reaches one of these highlighted spaces, that means we get a new guiding star. We're going to discard the current one and draw a new guiding star color from the bag. And if that token makes it to the very end of that track, that is one of the triggers to end the game. There's 2 quick cleanup things you're going to do at the end of your turn. One of them is to see if you've completed any of these shared objectives out on the table. The first player to complete one of these is going to score bonus points by putting one of their player tokens out on the star at the top of that card. Any other players who complete the same objective will put their tokens at the bottom of the card, which is worth fewer points. And last, you'll check to see if any of these star clusters is currently at only 1 token, which is a signal to refill that before the next player's turn starts. So we're going to continue going around the table trying to score points in those 3 ways we've talked about: the objective cards here, our personal objective, and our black hole roll. You also score a bonus 6 points for each constellation you're able to complete by completely filling in each star in that constellation. Now, we also played with the advanced rules today, which are going to add another big element to this game in the form of this extended universe board. This board comes with its own objectives along the bottom here, and 3 different tracks for star colors, constellations completed, and completions of these new objectives. So here's how this advanced mode works in with the rest of it. Every time a player at the table plays a black hole, in addition to moving this token on the star cluster board, they get to pick 1 token somewhere on the extended board and advance it 1 spot along its track. That could be something like advancing yellow, advancing one of the constellations, or advancing one of these new objectives as identified by those Roman numerals above them, like number 3 here. And at the end of the game, these tracks will have a big effect on our score. We're going to look at each of these tracks independently, and we're going to see which tokens came in first, second, and third place, because those tokens are going to score us extra points. So for example, in the star color track, orange is in the lead, which means each orange star on everybody's board around the table is worth another 3 points for that player. Yellow stars are worth 2 points, blue stars are worth 1, and the rest of these score no bonus points. We have a constellation all the way here at the end here. Maybe that was a little overkill, but that's going to score players who completed that constellation 14 points. Second place gets 12 and third place gets 10 points. All the other constellations that never made it to the track are just worth that basic 6 from the base game without the advanced rules. And last, our bonus objectives. Now these can be scored multiple times. So for example, number 3 was in the lead here. That's worth 4 points per completion. And that objective reads, each orbit with at least 1 orange star in it will score you those points. Second place gets you 3 points per completion, and third place gets you 2 points per completion. And that's what the advanced rules add in. It's not a whole lot more to add into the game to have these tracks moving every time you play a black hole, but it makes for some really intriguing swings into which objectives people are working on and what color stars they care about. The end of the game can be triggered in 4 different ways. The first, which we already mentioned, is if the black hole token makes it all the way to this final node on this track. Next is if any player at the table completes 3 constellations. We'll also wrap it up if we have 8 different scoring tokens out here on the shared objectives between all players. And last is if our star bag just runs out of stars.